Look, most of what's going to be going on over the next coming months is the work on the Suzanne Lenglen courts just behind me here. What's happening, as you can probably see, is they've just started building what's going to be a retractable roof, and that they aim to finish it by the end of the year. Certainly then in time for next year's French Open, which will be taking place ahead just a few weeks before the start of the Olympics. So that's where some of the tennis is going to be played out, obviously over all the rest of the courts as well as the Philippe Chatrier, the central court. But it's also where the boxing is going to be held. So boxing coming to Roland-Garros, quite a different sport from what's usually held here, as you mentioned, every year at the end of May, with the French Open normally being held here. And apart from that, Roland-Garros is pretty much ready to roll because the big refurbishments took place over the last few years with that other retractable roof on the central courts and the general refurbishments around the rest of the courts and built the new building of new courts as well, which have basically were needed to try and keep Roland-Garros up to date with the likes of other venues that welcome other Grand Slams, such as Wimbledon. But apart from that, from what we hear from the organisers here, everything is pretty much ready, and they expect to have, though, quite a different atmosphere during the Olympics, a different one that might be similar in a way to what happened in London in 2012, when, of course, they welcomed the Olympics and tennis took place at Wimbledon. Slightly different atmosphere to when, obviously, players come fans come to see their favourite players. Well, here it will be fans supporting probably their home countries.
Well, we can't talk about the Olympics without talking about the sports themselves. So as far as tennis goes, who will be defending their titles?
Well, last time round, Alexander Zverev and Belinda Bencic, they were the winners on the singles side, on both the men's and the women's. But since then, it's a very different story. Of course, recently, there's a certain Mr. Carlos Alcaraz who's come on the scene. He's shaken things up, especially for the younger generation. He wowed us just a few weeks ago at Wimbledon. So we'll see how this time he can manage on clay. And, of course, on the women's side, well, Iga Świątek, she's taken the women's tournament by a storm. The defenders of their titles from last time round are not in the same position as they are today. But there is one man, Aaron, who we cannot mention when we're talking about clay, when we're talking about Roland-Garros, and that, of course, is Rafael Nadal, the king of clay, as he's known. Well, whether he's going to be playing here, of course, we hope so. He is, in a way, on his way out at his age of his career. He's proven everything that he has anyway, with his 14 wins at the French Open. But the big question is whether he'll be taking part in the French Open and then the Olympics after that. Perhaps after making it home for him, he's going to be slowly making it into his retirement at that point, and perhaps it might be where he wraps up his career. What's for sure is seeing perhaps a final between him and the younger generation of Spain, so Carlos Alcaraz, or perhaps between Djokovic, who's still going very strong, would be absolutely beautiful. It's what dreams are made of, and definitely would be beautiful, not just for the fans, but for the history of tennis.